Hello! Welcome everyone. Oh, my camera's a bit... Not camera, microphone's a bit in the way. Okay, do you know what? We're just gonna... These things are so hard to... There we go. Do you know what? We're just gonna roll with it. We'll leave it there. Can you hear me alright? That's the main thing. Oh, I forgot to turn the music off. There we go, let's try that. That's a better one. How is everyone? As you can see, the project black screen is still in the works. I did, let's move the microphone better. There you go. So I did set up my Windows PC again at the weekend. If you follow me on Twitter, you might have seen me joke because I realised that I didn't even have Visual Studio 2019 on my Windows PC because I built it. As I said on Twitter, nearly 8 years ago, it was my first ever PC I built myself with the help of one of my best friends, so I'm very lucky. I don't really use Facebook these days, but I even, it's back in the day of Facebook, and I even, photoed the whole thing, so I, take a photo when the parts arrived, and then I took photos of as each part went in, and to anyone that's ever built a PC, I'm sure you remember the first time you built yours. So, my PC's had a few upgrades along the way. I think it's had some extra RAM, and I put a new graphics card in it a few years ago. But it's never had like loads of love put into it, especially since I must admit in 2016, shortly after the Apple event ended, announcing the MacBook Pro, I ordered one of the first MacBook Pro 2016s with the touch bar. And, I'd always wanted a MacBook, especially because as a Xamarin developer, we need something that can do iOS. And I had an iMac, but the problem was that it was just showing its age a bit. So I invested in a MacBook Pro. I was travelling away for work. I wanted something that I could just have a nice, clean development experience while I was away. So my PC just kind of stopped being used, and I guess because I had my MacBook Pro and I tended to do Xamarin development more than video games to a degree, because video games, man, they're high maintenance. So you buy a AAA title, you have all these amazing, beautiful graphics. Give it 6 months, the next game that comes out can't handle it. So it was just an investment I didn't make. I chose my MacBook, so my PC just kind of got put to the wayside. So I didn't even use it for months. So yeah, I found out it didn't even have 2019 on it. So no one else got any stories of like the first computers that they built. But anyway, so I've got my PC up here and it's all set up again, which is the point I was making. So once I get a capture card, I will be able to do it. Now, I'm off to house sit for some friends on Wednesday because they've got to go somewhere and I'm waiting in for delivery for them because it's a brand new 55-inch TV. I'm sorry, but no one will be cancelling those deliveries. That's an exciting day. So I'm going to be house sitting on Wednesday, but my friends are so close to, like my family and my eldest nephew in that family. He's 15 and he's got his own computer that his dad built, but it's he doesn't really use the capture card. I don't know how good the capture card is, but hey, any capture card is better than no capture card, right? No worries, Chatterbox Coder, take your time. So it was like, right, okay, so I'll get the capture card. Don't know what it'd be like, but it's better than nothing. So hopefully next week we will have a capture card installed and maybe we can kind of try this whole hey, here's a check you watching me. But yeah, okay. Well, I don't mean it's not decent. I just mean as in, like, I don't know if it's 4K or HD. I just don't know much about it. But Ted J, a corrupted hobo, is like my brother. So meet my brother, everyone. So I was like, there's no rush. I'll be there on Tuesday, tomorrow night anyway. But anyway, me chatting to family wasn't the point. But yeah, so this is exciting. Ooh, 1080p, snazzy. That'll do. But yeah, so thanks to our lovely friend in the chat here, I will get a capture card. So hopefully next week I can set up the capture card, sort out the black screen, because OBS on a Mac's alright, but do you know what? Like, let's be honest. Black screen's better. Streamlabs is better than OBS. And on Windows I'll be able to like zoom in and like have a floating head, hopefully. And with Streamlabs and stuff, I should be able to do a much better and much easier job of having like the borders and like... I did add a follower goal before, and it might be on the bottom, but it never seems to update live. So I'm hoping that just switching to Windows for the streaming part will solve the problems. Plus, I'll be streaming from an Ethernet cable rather than streaming from Wi-Fi. Now, to any other streamers in here, you are probably cringing that I just said I stream over Wi-Fi, but I have a MacBook with only USB-C. Have you seen how expensive the dongles are to have Ethernet in it? I bought, which I'm using now actually, I bought the white official dongle with HDMI and USB in it because Jim Bennett, another good friend of mine, developer advocate at Microsoft, he said to me that sometimes some projectors can be a bit iffy with HDMI. So just to guarantee that you're not going to have any stress when you're public speaking, use the official adapter. So cost me 80 quid, which I did cry a little inside when I paid for that. But that's an investment in my public speaking. Ethernet, just can go without. Anyway, so why are we here? And why do I have a tweet open from Saturday? So the reason is I did some stuff at the weekend, which is quite unusual for me, to be honest. Well, I try and write code at the weekends, but like, as you know, if you've followed me on Twitter or you've chatted to me or anything, like my job is hard. The code I work on is really complicated, and it's like a borderline healthy/unhealthy dose of imposter syndrome on a weekly basis. Like, it's challenging, which means that when you actually achieve something, it's really rewarding, but half the time I get to the weekend, my brain's tired, and I'm just like, no. But I had a free weekend. For once, I had nothing on, and it was great. I don't think I spoke to another human being in real life all weekend, apart from over text, and I just got to concentrate on stuff. And weirdly, for a morning person, the most productive hours were at like 11 o'clock on Saturday night. But anyway, so as you can see from this tweet here, I got excited on Saturday because I woke up and was like, oh yeah, I've got some stuff to do. So if you've not seen it already, I ought to get the GitHub out. But basically, I was doing, if you've not seen it, there's a new challenge out at the minute from the 23rd of September to the 23rd of October, which is just a challenge. You get entered into a prize draw. I think it's the $1,025 Xbox Live Gold. Is it Xbox Live Gold? Something like that. Yeah. My internet's coping well. Here we go. So there's a $1,025 Xbox Gold gift cards, and then there's 10 people, wait for it, who can win Surface headphones. I mean, I don't do it for the prizes, but it's always nice to think that, you know, they can give stuff away. But I wanted to do the challenge, and the challenge is great because what it does is it's teaching you how to mix, Xamarin mobile apps with Azure functions, serverless, because it is actually a really useful thing to know. But sometimes people don't realise how simple it is. So what they've done, and we'll go to the page, is there's this GitHub repo. So, as I said, it runs till the end of October. What you do is you clone the code and you just follow the instructions. So you've got some very Microsoft-style high-level objectives at the top, but then as you go through it, it will talk you through how to do it. Oh, yay! There you go, everyone. My capture card is waiting, so I can hopefully start streaming next week, assuming I can be trusted to set it up right. But it's okay, because I know just who is a phone call away if I mess it up. But anyway, yeah, so back to this challenge. So it talks you through the prerequisites. So you can do it on either PC or Mac, which is cool. And then it just talks you through how to do it. As I said, you can clone it, or, okay, you can download the source code, but from my experience, I'm pretty sure if you download the source code rather than cloning it, you don't get the, you can't kind of do like git pull and stuff, which in this instance is actually okay because you don't need to do any changes that you update. Hey Jim, Silicon Orchid is here, everyone. Woo! I watch some like Twitch channels where someone subscribes or follows or something, and they're like, oh, send them some. I think one of them's like bears, so it must be an emoji they've got. I have nothing like that, but yeah, Silicon Orchid's great, everyone. Believe it or not, like he's helped me loads with my streaming, but we've only met once. But it was it's quality over quantity. It was a really good few days in London at a conference together, and it was awesome. But yeah, so as I was saying, download the source code doesn't give you Git updates. So with this challenge, it doesn't matter. But as a habit and a sort of good practice, I'd recommend always cloning if you can, simply because, as I said, you won't. Otherwise, you can't do there's no version control linked in. It's just the source code as is at the point you downloaded it. But anyway, grab the source code, and then here you can jump to the ones for you. So in my case, it was Visual Studio for Mac. So I I just followed through the instructions. Now, one of the problems I faced, which Brandon's also had, because I'll find it actually. Basically, the problem I was having, and it might still be having it actually, if we let me do this without. No, it's context specific. Right, we can open the challenge. So I can show you it. But basically, the problem I had, which, as I said, I'll show you in a sec, is that even though as a Microsoft MVP, I have a Visual Studio Enterprise subscription, I definitely do because I use it to host my blog and other things. On the account, when I was going to publish this code, so one of the steps, kind of spoiler alert, if you want to do the challenge. One of the things it gets you to do is that it's got a lot of pre-populated code, which makes it a lot easier. But one of the things it gets you to do is do right-click, publish to Azure. Now, they always say you shouldn't do this. Friends don't let friends right-click publish, which, yeah, fallen foul to that. I am the idiot who overwrote their blog because I couldn't see the couldn't find the Azure function that I was looking for, and ooh, Corrupted Hobo is now hosting my stream. Woohoo! Jay, how come your display name says Corrupted Hobo, but your chat name has an underscore in it? I'm guessing it's something you do have to change names, but I'm just curious. But yeah, so I overwrote my blog because I couldn't see the Azure web service I created. So I was like, I'll just use this one for now to see it live, forgetting it was my blog. Yeah. Bad idea. But if you ever read my blog, you will see that I actually posted a post, that sounds bad. I wrote a blog post where I openly admitted what I did wrong so people can learn from it. But yeah, so here you go. Perfect example. We couldn't find a subscription on your account. Well, I definitely have one, as I said. My blog's on it. So I Googled this problem and came across a Visual Studio issue for it. Don't know a solution, but the person that raised the issue was the one and only Brandon Minnick, who is a cloud advocate at Microsoft as well, specialising in Xamarin. He's awesome. He's currently in the Netherlands for Techorama Netherlands, which one day I'm going to speak at a Techorama because they're awesome, and I'm super FOMO right now because there's some awesome people at that event. Anyway, so I reached out to Brandon on Twitter and I was just like, hey, I saw that you had this issue too. Did you find a workaround? And he said, no, it just started working for him. Shame. But thanks to Brandon and the team writing really good instructions, let's just go back. Here we go. I just used the CLI instead. So all of these here will achieve the same goal. It's just 3 different ways of doing it. So if you're on Visual Studio on a PC, you do it from these instructions. It will link you to, obviously it's just jumps to these, or Mac. So I just did CLI. So I jumped to it. So I just followed the instructions. If you do Xamarin development or you've got any kind of interest in it, do it. This challenge was super easy. I didn't have to kind of make anything. All you had to do was follow the instructions. So you have to make things in terms of setting up the bits in Azure you need that it will link to, but then you just follow it through, follow the instructions, and then do some bits in the portal so that it knows where to look when it's called. Again, it's just talking you through what you do. So again, it's really useful instructions with, written instructions or screenshots, depending on what works for you. I'm a bit of both. Sometimes I read the instructions and sometimes I look at the pictures. So I think when I was doing this, I must admit I mainly looked at the pictures, but it's only because as a, say, regular, fairly frequent Azure portal user, you're talking once or twice a week minimum. I kind of know my way around enough that I just looked at the picture and was like, oh, right, you mean that. But anyway, yeah, so you can follow it through and it will take you through it. And again, all this is copy and paste. So the website's already set up there for you because that's what it's sending your submission to. But you just go through it, you save all those, and then what you'll have to do once you've done some more stuff around security is eventually, it looks long, but when you consider what it's doing, it's kind of cool. And obviously you've got the code there afterwards so that you can learn how you did it. Snazzy. So yeah, here we go. This is a bit. So it gets you to get the URL because, you know, you set up this Azure web function, and the right-click publish with the backend is where you're pushing the code up so that, you know, it can interact with it, and the code will call the function so that when you do the bit when you run the app, you know, it's got somewhere to send it. But of course, we've got to tell it where to send it, and it's unique to us because we just created it. So all these steps are doing is just taking you through getting the values that you need, and then putting them into our app. Here we go. So add the function URL to Xamarin. So that's where you just go in. So the only change to the code you have to make on the whole thing is just updating the endpoint so it knows where to look. Then you run it, and when you run it, you'll be met with this screen. You just click start. All it asks you to do is enter in some details, and when it's done, you'll get that. Now, if you do it in the next few days, be aware that there was an issue with the automatic mail server. So I never actually received a confirmation email that it got my submission. But if that happens to you, don't panic. Just run the app that you've already written. You don't need to do the whole challenge again. Just run the app you've already written, do it again, and if you've done it, it will be like, hey, sorry, this email address and ID, etc., is already signed up to this. So then you know, cool, done. So great. So that's one of the things I did. I did this challenge. So I said here that I was going to do the challenge. Step 1, complete. Woohoo! So that was one of the things I did this weekend. And a very productive weekend. I was quite impressed. So I did that. And then the next one I said I wanted to do was play. Well, okay, so I said to play with FontAwesome because actually it's the other way around. But the next thing I played with, because I was super excited, is Magic Gradients. So we go to Magic Gradients. Here we go. So, I've gone into the sample app here. Right. So, if you read the weekly Xamarin newsletter that I curate along with Kim Philpotts, you will know that I curated and published the most recent issue that came out on Friday, and one of the articles that ended up in the newsletter was about this library. What is it? So it's inspired by PancakeView. A lot of you probably know PancakeView. It's from Stephen Thewison, an awesome Xamarin developer from the Netherlands. He wrote PancakeView to give you a really easy way to do gradients, because gradients are hard, man. Traditionally, like when you do gradients, if you've seen me do it in another app, you kind of have to say like, I want this gradient, and then you go into the platform specifics and say, this is how the gradient will look on iOS and this is how it will look on Android. Not so much look, but work, because, with shared code, you've got libraries that kind of, as I've mentioned before, that I love about plugins, libraries, whatever term you want to use, they kind of make life easy for you. So where, if you're writing a custom control or a custom renderer or whatever, you have to go into the platform specifics and say like, hey, if I just write this in my shared code, once it's run on iOS, Android, UWP, IoT, TV, watch, on everything, when you run it, it'll blow up and say, hey, I don't know how to do this. So that's where you write these platform implementations so that you say, hey, Android, do this, hey, iOS, do this, so it's using their native libraries. Now, with plugins, that takes that work away from you, because all you have to do is use a library. It's normally a NuGet package, and then it already knows how to do it. So you just say, hey, shared library, do this for me, and then it will work on the platforms that it supports. So when you want to do gradients, originally you had to say you had a shared gradient, and then you'd have to implement it with, is it UI Draw, I think, on iOS, and then on Android, I don't know. Oh, Silicon Orchid has asked, does it take you long to curate your newsletter content? Yes, hours. So what we do is we find links, and when we curate them, I'll have to check actually. I'm sure the team Kim, Jeff and Jeff Huntley wouldn't mind if I shared how it's done, but the magic, but I'll just double check first. It's not really a secret, but basically we use a website called Curated. I have, if you see here, I have this bookmark tab, which is saved as Xamarin Weekly. So if I find a link or something that I think is really interesting, I can just click on that. It will bring up a page, and it will, all right, let's log in. But then it will bring up a form that you fill in, which is how we do things. So you've got the title, the URL, then the body. So it's all marked down, so we have to put the body in. One of the things that we also do, we always try and have a, name of it with the link to it as a, markdown link by. So if you've ever seen that, that's just done with markdown in here. So it'd be like, we always bold them, so it'd be like, link. All right, I put curly braces, my bad. Anyway, yeah, so you just do markdown links in there. And then we pick a category, which is those headings that you see, and then who curated it. And that seems fairly simple, right? But, these are, we don't need to save it. So that's fairly simple, but doing that for a lot of articles and also checking the quality of them, finding ones that maybe don't just appear on Planet Xamarin, because there's so much content out there that doesn't get a spotlight. So, from finding the content, vetting the content, saving the links, making sure they're in the right category, picking, making sure that the links work and everything's right. Yeah, it does take quite a lot of time. Now, we do try and make an effort as a team to kind of spend 5-10 minutes a day curating the links, because then we find that on Friday morning, before the issue, Friday morning my time, before the issue goes out, we've got time to, just do a final check, add the sponsor, add the kind of intro text at the beginning. So, yeah, it does take a while. And believe you me, if you forget to curate those links during the week, you're talking 2 or 3 hours of your morning spent doing that. Don't regret it for a second. Curating Xamarin Weekly is one of the favourite things I've done in years, because it just opens my eyes to all these links that maybe I would have missed. And I was I've been a subscriber to Xamarin Weekly since must have been 2015, 2016, because I remember sitting in my graduate job on a Friday morning receiving the issue. So I've been a long time supporter. So when I was asked to do it, I was really honoured. But yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's so worth it because I see so many awesome links. And I think I've tweeted before about things that I've discovered while curating the newsletter, and it's a fantastic source of content. But yeah, so Magic Gradients kind of came out of that. So it said it's inspired by PancakeView, which you might have seen. James Montemagno's used it in a few of his things. So if you watched .NET Conf last week, in the day one kind of keynote sessions, they did a really awesome discussion around, wasn't discussion, but it started off with gRPC. So they implemented a weather server and weather client so that you could use gRPC to get weather data. And then subsequent guests would pop on for 20 to 30 minutes and talk through something, but it was all built from this same kind of gRPC client. So you started off with the client and the server to get you the info. Then the client was a .NET standard library. So then each person would come in and use a different technology stack in the same solution to then use that to build it up. So we saw a Blazor example, we saw a WinForms example, we saw IoT example, which was awesome. It was displaying on an LED screen. But obviously, of course, there was Xamarin too. So in the Xamarin sample, if you saw it, and I think the video is probably on YouTube already, actually, because they're pretty swift. No language joke intended. James used PancakeView. So PancakeView is great. It's a really super easy way of just having gradient view. You don't need platform implementations of it anymore. You don't need to use another library to do the drawing, like Skier So Skier does make your gradients easier to do, but it's still a lot of work. It's still easier, but Magic Gradients kind of builds on that. So it doesn't make it any easier or harder because PancakeView is easy. You just, I stand corrected, it is easy. You literally wrap, you import the NuGet, you add a XML namespace to it. The reason I'm not showing you the code for this is because I'll talk you through the code for Magic Gradients I've implemented. But you bring in the yeah, you bring in the NuGet, you add the XML namespace in your XAML, then you just reference that and wrap your content in a pancake view, and then you can specify gradients. And that's great. But as far as I know, pancake view only does 2 gradients, start color and end color. You can probably pick direction like vertical, horizontal, whatever, but you can only do 2. And one of the things that caught my eye about this Magic Gradients library is that you don't just have to do straightforward gradients. Oh no, you can do super cool gradients. Look at that. I was like, love it. So the first thing I did was implement this. And I said I'll show you the code in a minute. So Copperbeardy's just thanking me for tagging Jim Bennett in a tweet the other day. So Copperbeardy is doing a really awesome Xamarin app with maps, and he was having problems with Azure Maps. Now, coincidentally, the day before, Jim Bennett, long-time friend, fan, I guess. He is. Jim's the best. If you ever get the chance to meet Jim, do it. He's so enthusiastic, generous with his time, knowledgeable. He's great. But he'd written a blog post the day before about Azure Maps, and so when Copperbeardy posted this problem about Azure Maps, I was like, I know the person to ask, so I tagged Jim, and as expected, Jim was really helpful, so I'm really pleased to see that Copperbeardy solved his problem. Woohoo! How is the app going, Copperbeardy? Like, you've got past that bit, but how's it going? So Silicon Hawkins just said, knowing virtually nothing about Xamarin Native or Forms, I just assumed that gradients was something that would be readily available. Based on my presumption, it was part of WPF XAML. Yes, but Xamarin.Forms XAML is a different dialect to UWP and WPF XAML. Don't forget that Xamarin and Xamarin.Forms started life as a startup away from Microsoft. So all this stuff kind of, was developed separately, and then Microsoft acquired them a few years ago. But yeah, the XAML's a different dialect, basically, is what it comes down to. So gradients are getting easier with things like pancake view, but no, it's not as simple as you thought, because it's easy when you're targeting one platform, WPF. It's just one framework. But with Xamarin, you've got to support iOS, Android, etc. So you've got because they're native wrappers, you're going to hit the problems of how you do it on each platform. So believe it or not, yeah, as I said, it's not been easy. But libraries are coming out to make it easier. And when I saw this, I was like, oh, this is awesome. So I followed the instructions. So it gives you lots of different ways of doing it. You've got literally in the middle of XAML, so that's just a 45-degree angled gradient, so it'd be like that. And then you've got, you can do it in C# if you're doing UI as code. And then, or you can style it with CSS, so you can do it directly inline, or you can do it with CSS, which I thought was a cleaner solution, so that's what I chose to do. But I don't know CSS, so thankfully, before we jump into the code, just want to give a shout out to our lovely library developer, because he developed a playground. And the playground serves 2 purposes. It's very, very clever. So, actually, let's run it and you'll see what I mean. So, let's just switch to playground. Alright, it's not there. Annoyingly. Oh, there you go, Magic Gradients. So, in his playground app, what he did was he implemented a gallery where you could see the different samples that you saw on that GitHub page. So, you can see the different gradients. Don't need hot reload right now. I'm leaving this solution in a minute, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, so I've already got this open, so it's a bit of a cheat. But yeah, so in this app, we just minimize everything. I don't know how you do it on here. Okay, anyway, basically it's got a playground app, and if we run it, what we can do? Oh, I didn't need to run this code actually, it's already on the simulator. But anyway, if you run this code, you'll see why I like it. So it's not just got the samples that you can then refer to in the code, you can find how it was written. It's also got a playground, and it literally gives you a box where you can paste in CSS and see what it would do. There you go. So this is inline gradient, inline CSS gradients, fairly straightforward. And then if we go to paste CSS, can then start putting stuff in. So like linear. I wish I knew how you could start iOS, starting the keyboard with a capital letter, because I think it doesn't work. But anyway, you can paste in like valid linear gradient CSS code in here, and it will actually display it down below. So if we take one of these, for example, I think this will work. It might not with the percentages, but we'll try it and see. There you go. Boom. So then you can make changes to it. I don't know, we can make this 1, 2, 4, and it starts to change colours. So if you just want to play with the CSS, it's right there. Awesome. So it's like, cool. So I found, this is hamburger menu here, which I can tell you is done using shell. There you go, shell. But yeah, so you can paste this as we've got the gallery. So I went in the gallery and I was like, oh, okay, standard to Angular. So the UI is not perfect on this. I mean, not that I can talk, but for example, I only found out from experimenting that was a switch. What do they call them in iOS? I don't even know what they're called. It's not, is it a picker? I think it's a picker. I should know this. I learned iOS before I learned Xamarin, but it was a long time ago. But yeah, so I saw these and there we go, lo and behold, you can click them and there is the beautiful background I wanted. So I did some digging and this is how I came across these text files which contain the linear gradients we want to use. And that, believe it or not, is 1, 2, 3, 4, which is for the 4 samples. So I was like, right, the purple one I like is first. I'm going to steal that line. So switch back to my project. Stop that running. Anyway, so I implemented the code, which I'll show you how in a minute. But before we do spoilers of the code itself, I'm just going to show you step 2. There you go, another task complete. I have it in an app. Woohoo! So it's copied from the sample. I'm fine with that because, full credit to the developer. If anyone knows Maddie Leger is the PM, a PM for Xamarin, and specifically Xamarin.Forms tooling. So she's actually the kind of head honcho PM for the amazing hot reload. But her favourite colour is purple. So once I had this implemented, I was like, well, purple's not my colour that I'd want in a design potentially. But Maddie will love it, so I tagged her in it, and she was super excited. So woohoo! So we got that done. So she wanted to know how it was done. So this is why it's on GitHub and everything. But one of the things I did when she asked me how I did it was link the library. So I am not a credit stealer. I will admit that for this I stole it. I used the code that he'd written. Obviously, it's a public sample. It's not stealing. But yeah, absolutely. It's I just took it from the sample. Now, one thing you'll notice is that we have magic gradients in here. And the reason for that is because this isn't, unfortunately, on NuGet. So what I did have to do was download the whole repo, then just copy the Magic Gradients library itself into my project and include it in the solution. So yeah, it's not ideal, you've got to have a reference to it locally, but I added references to it in the project. It only needs to be in the main shared project, it doesn't need to be in the library projects. And so I did. But one of the things I learned along the way was this, that it needs NuGet skier sharp. So I implemented the code, which I'll show you in a minute, and the first time I ran it, I got an error saying about it depends on skier sharp views forms, and either add it or there's an error. So I was like, right, okay, I'll add it. So I added it. So yeah, heads up, if you're going to do this, you need to add skier sharp forms, but it's not like you get a weird error. It does plain as day tell you that you need it, but just letting you know. So what I did is I just had a very simple main page. So I referenced the project as a namespace. Then I was like, right, as I said, I much prefer the clean style of having a separate CSS file. So in here, I just took that first line that I mentioned and pasted it in here. It's a very, very long line. So if you understand CSS, you could probably understand what's going on with this. But for the sake of a pretty background, because we all know I can't design for toffee. So for a pretty background, I was like, right, I'll use it. And that's cool. Someone somewhere understands this CSS. But yeah, so I implemented the style, and then like with Pancake View, we literally just had to wrap everything in the gradient view. Now, why is it in a grid? The reason it's in a grid is the same reason why I use grids with no, just one grid without even any column and row definitions. And the reason for that is background. So I made a YouTube video, if you've not seen it, it's on my channel, where I also upload these streams after they're done. But I created a video, it was last September, because I was sat in my Airbnb after speaking at ProgNet, and I made this video and uploaded it. But it's a design trick I learnt from Kim Philpotts. Silicon Orchids just asked, is that fractal like pattern defined in CSS then? Yes, is the answer. It is a very, I don't break it up because it might break the code, but yes, it's just the Magic Gradients has this idea of a linear gradient, so it's just literally lots and lots of different angled linear gradients. So you've got one gradient here with some colours in it, and then I think it's like one large linear gradient with lots of smaller ones inside of it. But yeah, you just scroll across with lots of lines. Again, another linear gradient here, and it all just works together with lots of linear gradients. Again, another one. It repeats like that all the way to the end. There you go, there's another one. But yeah, you get the idea. So it's just lots of linear gradients, which is a ability implemented by Magic Gradients. Anyway, yeah, so with grid, so Kim Philpotts taught me this trick, which is with a grid, you can just have a grid that wraps everything, have an image. You don't need to do it for this, but you can have an image that you set the aspect ratio, the aspect to aspect fill. And then you have another layout that then contains the rest of your content. And that's how you have it as a background that appears behind everything else. So we wrap the gradient in a linear gradient view, which is obviously from the Magic Gradients library. Then we have another grid, and this is when I started to implement a menu system. So we've got 3 rows. The idea was I wanted kind of a bit you can see at the top, something in the middle. I tried a frame, but I wasn't quite happy with how it looked, so I went for just a stack layout. So we have a vertical stack layout, and then we have another stack layout that's horizontal. So the idea is that I can just have something else. So this brings me on to the next thing I wanted to implement on my to-do list at the weekend, which was, go back to the tweet, FontAwesome. So FontAwesome is really, in my opinion, badly named. I think it's because it's technically fonts, but it's icons. Basically, it's a load of icons. There's free and there's paid, but free gives you a load of options, and you can implement it in your code. So I think I just searched Xamarin.Forms FontAwesome, and I found a blog post. Here we go. So I found this blog post from Sebastian, which talks about how you do it. So we'll scroll through it in a sec. But basically, long story short, is you go to the FontAwesome website. You treat it like medium. You treat it like internet's slow, so the images will take a minute. But yeah, you go on there. You treat it like you're doing desktop, because we don't want style sheet stuff. We want all the icons locally, so you go to desktop and then you download it. It gives you a zip file containing all the icons, and Copperbeard is now hosting you. Woo! Thanks, friend. So we have these. You then get the OTF files for the font. So it's literally just an OTF file full of fonts, but they're icons. So I followed his idea of renaming them. Then in the app, you have to include them in the iOS. So you want in the info.p list, so it knows where to find the font. So it's just it's a iOS idiom, I guess. It's just sometimes there's faffy things you have to do on Android and not iOS, and vice versa. So in this case, we just had to quickly go into the info.p list and edit the stuff. Now, one of the things that I might just be missing, but I couldn't find in Xamarin.Forms, Visual Studio for Mac, is right-click XML text editor. Don't know how you do it, but what we do know from looking at the entries here that you'd edit as XML is it wants you to, let's just zoom in. There we go. So it wants you to add something called UI app fonts as the key, and then the value is an array of strings where we just reference those files that we renamed. So I just did it the old-fashioned way. I'll show you. I just went on info.plist and source and did it in here. So here you got custom properties. So I just did it like that. So I just called it what I wanted. So it'll moan if I call it that, but it'll be, it's a UI app font. And then I just changed this to be an array. And then it gives you these sub ones. So all I did was just look at those values and just put them in there. Most of the time, Visual Studio for Mac is beautiful, but just every now and then you just come across those little things that you can't do. If anyone knows something that I'm missing, please do let me know. Because right-click, open with, gives you property list editor, hex editor, Xcode, or instruments. I even tried opening it in don't try it in Visual Studio Code. I tried it in Xcode and it wasn't helpful. It was just basically the same form of it. Lomenix, don't know how you say it, but hey, welcome. Nice to have you. So we've got this, so I added all that, and then it talks you through what you do next. So then you do all this stuff. So you have to add the files into the right place. I might have already done that actually. Yeah, so it says to add them all. So coding with letters, not. So the one of the things that I did, I cheated a little bit. So it tells you to add them in, iOS as resources. So there they are, and then in Android it's assets. Yeah, assets. So you put them in those folders, and then as I said, you update the plist. But I happen to have something very snazzy called mFractor. So I think I've talked about mFractor on here before. It is a productivity tool from Matthew Robbins in Australia. Great guy, very clever. And mFractor is a product, I've said before, I've never met a product with such fast turnaround in customer service. You can reach out to them on Twitter, and half the time you report a problem and it's fixed a day later. And considering that, I get confused whether he works on mFractor alone and then also has a team, or whether it's the team works in mFractor. But anyway, yeah, really great product. He was doing an offer during the Xamarin Dev Summit in Houston that where he was doing an offer. You could get a year of mFractor for, it was really cheap. But yeah, so mFractor's not free. There are some things you can do for free. It is, said I've got 284 days left. So it is a license that you have to renew annually. And I think it's about, it's under £100 anyway, and it's well worth it for the year, for the productivity you get. So Silicon Orchid's just asked, does VS for Mac support things like PC version VS extensions? No. So Visual Studio for Windows extensions are .vsix or Visual Studio install packages, I think they're called. And Visual Studio for Mac uses something called MPack. I only know this because I was lucky enough as an MVP to be on the Hot Reload private preview in June, and they sent you the link to you had to add the repo and then add the MPack. So that's how I learned the extensions are MPack. So no is the answer. They are separate libraries, like file types. They work differently. So I think there are plans to improve that going forward potentially, or they'll just try and do side by side. But yeah, at the moment, the extensions are not the same. Ooh, Blue Aquatics Games is here. Hey, welcome everyone. I'm not, if you're here because I'm being hosted by two of my friends, then welcome. This is a coding stream, I must admit. I do play games, but I have another Twitch for that. I don't tend to stream games very often. aka never. I used to stream on PlayStation sometimes, but I don't tend to stream video games. But this is a coding channel. We are just chatting about what I did at the weekend. We will write some code at some point and get on some other things. I'm just teaching what I learned at the weekend. I enjoy coding too. So one of the things I did with mFractor was you can do import fonts. So I cheated and did the import. So what's great about that is not only did it put the imports in all the right folders, but where it said in the instructions to add these bits for the different platforms, the different ways it's done. So, iOS, Android, for the different, the flavors. So there was the 3 files we saw: solid, brands, and regular. So the steps in the GitHub for the library told you to do that, but thanks to mfractor, I didn't need to. But just be aware that you might need to. So that's that bit here, and then we get the code. So traditionally with FontAwesome, every icon has a value, and you have to put it in with these escape characters, and that F26E is what you can see. Whoop. Let's go down. Where is it? We've gone too far. There we go. Here. So this number is what you have to put in, and zoom out a bit, and then you use it with escaped icons. So Copper Beardy's just saying he was asked about Xamarin on Linux the other day and had no idea. So Xamarin on Linux, in theory, works. Is it GTK? I think it is. It might be a kind of preview / community-driven kind of thing, a bit like WPF support on Xamarin.Forms. It's there and it is supported, but the maintenance is generally done by the community. I'm not sure, but yeah, Xamarin on Linux should work. TM should work, but I've not run Linux in years, so I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, in theory it does. GTK, I think it's called. But yeah, so getting back to this one, so you see here, you've got the label, and then you give it the text with that value and escape things, and then you have to tell it where the font family is, so you have to reference the right collection it's from, which you can get from here on the page, and then have that as things. But who wants to sit and write a load of code, like put Unicode in their code? It's not readable. You don't know what the icon is. You'd have to go and look it up. So, funny enough, hey, let's look at this. So, Matthew Robbins, again, Mr. mfractor, also came up with this. So it is a library. It's not even a library. It's just a class that you add to your project called FontAwesome Icons. So what he's done is he has gone through and actually given names, the icon names, to all these funky Unicode values. So then all you have to do in your code, which I've done, which I'll show you now, is reference those. So I've said I want an image. So I want an image buttons because I want them clickable. And so you can click the button or the text. I might rejig this. It was just a proof of concept anyway. But yeah, so you set the font family and then you set the glyph, which is what the picture is, and then you can set the color. So we say like it's from the FontAwesome library, FontAwesome icons.clipboard check. So then you actually can see what it is that your icon is, because otherwise, how do you know? And that is where this magic comes in. So we just do it again. So if we have a look at the simulator, I have got it running here. And lo and behold, we will have, ta-da! One app with a purple background and some clickable icons. Now, for the minute, that's not clickable, it's just a label. But I should make them buttons really, but and you can add icons to a button. But anyway, I wrote this at 11 o'clock at night. It was throwaway code, it'll do. But yeah, so we have icons. Cool. And then I was like, right, that's not good enough. I'm going to make some changes. So if we go on to Twitter, next picture was, let's go back to the original, because I replied in a thread. There you go. Awesome. Ta-da! And then today, spoiler, I made some changes. So as I mentioned earlier, purple, great, but I didn't want purple forever. I wanted to change the colours. And I wanted a shade of orange. So today I played around with the code and change the colours. Now, I did that on a different machine, so I did a git pull before we started, but those colours don't look right. So we're just going to go back to here. I know it's in... God knows why I thought it was a sensible idea to store things in two places. It's defaults versus chosen. Defrag at some point, so they're all in the same place. But there we go. Cool. If I do a git dash, is it maroon? It did earlier. Huh, okay, so why is that not? Let's just run this and see how it looks. It should look like that now, but we'll see. Update, do it. Forgot. Okay, normally that's not updated, but okay. We'll run it and see how it looks. But yeah, so that's what I did at the weekend. I finished a challenge, learned how to implement a new library. Oh, for God's sake. Here's update something. Alright. Okay, I'll do that in a minute. But, you know, so we have an app. Doesn't do anything. It's got pretty background. Does that count? So one of the things that we will do shortly is decide what the app's going to do. Because I want to do something cool with that background. Now, the reason I started this stream is because I get imposter syndrome. I've never finished an app. I always feel silly. I am no advanced developer, so it's not going to be anything complicated. I would just like to implement something with a pretty background. Well, yes, that's one of the things we're going to do. But before we get to that, we have some brainstorming to do. So if you saw my tweet just before I went live, or saw my Twitter interactions earlier today, Kerry Lothrop, who is a friend of mine from Germany, he's one of the co-organisers of the, the European Xamarin Expert Day. So it was originally in Cologne, and I spoke at the last one in October last year, which is great. Then that was my first speaking engagement abroad, which was very exciting. And I got to finally meet Mike James and some other people I'd always wanted to meet. And then in June, I went to the Munich version, which was awesome. Kerry worked for Zulka, and they were actually sponsoring the event, and he actually had enough budget to pay for my flights and hotel, which was super exciting. What was even better, and one thing that I wish places that paid expenses did more, was they paid up front. I didn't have to pay for it, submit expenses, wait for it to come back. I just paid for it, so it was awesome. So I got flights and hotel paid for. Sweet. But that was in June. Great event. Weather was amazing. We spent, time in German beer gardens, which, we were in Bavaria, so as you can imagine, I didn't actually drink while I was there, I think. But yeah, it was a really nice event. And they've got another one in next month, in a few weeks. Say next month, it's 1st of October tomorrow, but yes, 25th, I think, of October in Cologne. I am speaking again at Xamarin Expert Day, and that's super exciting. James Montemagno, who is a friend of mine, speaker hero. I've always said that one day I wanted to share a stage with him. So technically we're not speaking together, so you could say it's not sharing a stage, but we're at the same event, and I'm on after him. Whew, pressure much. But anyway, Kerry is one of the organisers of Xamarin Expert Day, along with Gerald and Glenn and some other great European Xamarin developers and kind of community members. And he has a podcast called Dev Talks. And he's looking for more people to feature on his Dev Talks podcast. And he was asked today if I wanted to go on the podcast. Awesome. But what should I talk about? Genuinely, they've had I think it's F# stuff with Mark Allabone. They've had Life as Devangelist from Laurent Brugnon. They've had Matt Sokop. Trying to hear him say it because I always get his surname wrong. Sokop, that's it. Matt Sokop, who is again Brandon and Jim's colleague. He's another Xamarin expert, cloud advocate at Microsoft. He came on and did Azure App Center and all that stuff. So there's been a few episodes, but I've got big shoes to fill. But what should I talk about? You know, I don't know. I was thinking Shell, just because that's kind of my favourite Xamarin.Forms feature at the moment, because as a hobbyist who doesn't have time to learn how to do fancy UIs and all the navigation, it just makes it super simple. But what do you talk? You know, do I know enough to talk about Shell for half an hour? I don't know. So what we're thinking, people, if I was to go on the podcast and talk about Xamarin or Azure and Xamarin, what should I talk about? I am open to suggestions. I will put a Twitter poll out potentially after this for anyone that's not here. But yeah, let's just get some ideas flowing. Let's just check my dashboards, check that people are still actually watching. Let's see. Twitch dashboard. There's a delay, so it's hard to tell, so I'm just going to hope that people are still watching. Settings. Nope. People dashboard. View dashboard. There we go. I have 7 viewers, so people are there. Cool. So, okay, let me know. Well, I'll let you think about it. I'm not going to sit and wait. We can talk about it if anyone says anything. But let's kind of move on. So, I say wait. We've still got to wait, because I need help with 2 things. 1, what should I talk about on the podcast? And 2, what should we do with our shiny app? Like, we have a pretty gold gradient, fractal, as Jim put it, background. What app shall I make? Awesome, Copperbeard, glad you're still here. It's hard to tell because there's delay. Oh, okay, so Silicon Orchid's come up with a suggestion. Maybe something along the lines of there is a pressure to always present the latest, newest, cleverest features, but really there are still swathes of developers who appreciate speakers talking about more basic things. Okay, explain that more, because as a hobbyist, I do tend to public speak about shiny new features like Shell. So when you say more basic things, what do you mean? Agreed. I mean, I do a lot of stuff with, yeah, I always joke that I am an expert beginner, but I am not an expert. So I can get you started. I can point you to resources. I can spin up an app, in a few minutes with basic navigation, mainly thanks to Shell. But yeah, what do you mean by basic things? So yeah, I like to talk about Shell, and and I've done talks on like getting started with cognitive services, what Xamarin is, using DevOps with it and all that stuff. But yeah, I'm all ears. Explain to me basic things, what you're thinking. What do you want to hear? If I'm going to go on this podcast, what do you want to hear me talk about? Because I can talk about loads of stuff, but I don't know if it's interesting. So we'll see how we go. Okay, we'll wait for people to respond. Here we go. Okay, so typically the stage is full of speakers clamouring to show off the latest things. Sometimes beginner level is what the audience wants, and it's okay as long as you make it clear up front. True, but sometimes the latest things can still be simple, Shell being an example. Copperbeardy thinking might look into use these gradients in the rework of my Xamarin Game app. Do it. It's awesome. As I said, it's just a library. Let me put a link in the chat so that you can use it. No, wrong one. That one. Boom. Ooh. There you go. Yeah, I just loved how super simple it was to get started. So, where are we? Here we go. So yeah. So like, what are you thinking? So, I mean, I can talk about the basics by all means. Just good practices. MVVM is a good place to start because it keeps your code nice and simple. You don't need a load of fancy libraries like MVVM framework libraries, like MVVM Lite, MVVM Cross, Fresh MVVM, all that stuff. It is fantastic, and when your app starts to get bigger and you maybe have more complicated things or a lot of data going around, it might be okay. But do you know what? You don't need it. I know. Yeah, when I was a graduate, and then for a few months after I graduated. By graduate, I mean on a graduate scheme, and I was working on a team making a Xamarin app. Now, as I've touched on before, I learnt things from it, but not necessarily good things, because it was just architected poorly and had a load of problems and whatnot. But we used fresh MVVM. And so I knew how to use it, and I knew how to do the navigation and the dependency injection and stuff. So for a while, it would do like I would only ever start new apps using fresh MVVM, which in hindsight, why? I mean, okay, it helps that James developed MVVM helpers, so I don't even need to worry about implementing the bits it needs, like I notify property changed, I just use it. But yeah, you don't need all these fancy frameworks. Plugins is one thing, fancy frameworks, if you're doing a simple app, don't bother. Start with the basics. So any of you that follow James's streams and his project and everything, and you look at his code on GitHub, you will notice that there's no fancy frameworks. He does vanilla, and I agree with him on that. I think the more libraries you add in, the more places there are to go wrong, more points of failure. And when things go wrong, there's more things to debug. And that just gets overwhelming. Just, no. Keep it simple. So yeah, I'd agree that keeping it simple. Okay, so I've got a couple of more messages that I missed, sorry. Silicon Orchid's also said, and how to deal with those pressures of peer pressure, imposter syndrome, etc. I'm an expert in being an imposter. I feel it every day. I know I'm not. Like, I have experience. I'm an MVP, and if I'm logical about it, I know full well that I'm not an imposter. It's just, it happens, doesn't it? Especially on my code base at work. My colleagues are fantastic, but the code base is a nightmare. And it's not that the code's written badly, it's just that there's a lot of it. There's kind of 15 years worth of development in there, so there's kind of pre-Orleans stuff, and then there's Orleans stuff. There's just a lot going on. It's a very complicated solution that results in a very clever product, but it has a lot going on. So, with the Orleans and with context services and microservices here and there and all this stuff going on, it's so hard to understand. So yeah, imposter syndrome kicks hard a lot at work. But I know that once I come home and, I can use a weekend to throw this together and then sit and explain it, I'm not an imposter. But it happens. So yeah, I can relate to that. Another idea, MVVM talks, he still messes it up. So what do you mean by mess it up, Copper Beardy? I would say that's probably not good for a podcast, because you want to be able to show things and explain them. However, if you want me to do a video, just whether you message me or tell me on here, just let me know what it is that confuses you or you mess up, and I will just happily talk you through it. I can just do what I always do when I start a new app and throw an MVVM. In fact, I can do it in this app in a minute, because I've not done it yet. Okay, another podcast idea. Digging into threading optimization. I recall there was a way ASIC things you can do for keeping threads glued together. I can't remember the syntax. Silicon Orchid, you're probably right, but the minute that you said threading optimization, nope. I do not feel qualified to sit and talk about that. What do you mean by keeping threads glued together, as in continue with? I don't know. I know the basics of async and await, and Brandon Minnick did a really good talk he's done it a few times. I'll find it and I'll send a link in a minute. But he did a really good talk on common mistakes in async and await. So, common mistakes. Async await. Brandon. Should find it. Here we go. Copy. Paste. Done. There you go. Oh god, it's a Google URL. Sorry, I should have actually visited that. I have Jim's book. It's downstairs though. Yeah, sorry. Threading's one of those things that I get the basics, but But anyway, that video is really cool. Brandon kind of goes through the basics of kind of what async and await is and some of the things you can do with it, and explains it to you. But then what I really like about this video, and it's one of my favourite videos I've watched this year actually, is that he explains how it works, explains what people often do, why that's wrong, and then gives you an alternative. So if you want to know more about async and await, really good video. Corrupted Hobos just said, I got some spare super glue if that helps with the gluing of said threads. So Jay's a gamer, not a coder, so he probably wonders what on earth we're on about. Like, so you know about threads because you do CPU PC building. But yeah, so you imagine that like you want a CPU and stuff with multi-threading so that your computer can do lots of things at once. It's the same with code. When you're writing code, you want it to be like being able to go off and get go and get something from the internet, like data to display on your app, but not stop your app from running. So you do it in the background, which is where multi-threads come in, and often do it. Otherwise, if you do it all on the same thread, your app will crash and you won't be able to interact with it until it's done, which is bad. But that's multi-threading anyway. But yeah. So Silicon Orchid saying, yes, it's related to continue with. This is stuff that I've not had to pay attention to as server dev. I said, I'm no expert, but I'd highly recommend that video from Brandon. It's the whole talk itself is about 40 minutes to an hour. So it's not hugely long, but it's long enough to be really informative. And I reckon that you'll be able to at least get some of your questions answered from that video. And if not, he is at the Code Traveller on Twitter with 1 L. There he is. Reach out to him. He's lovely. As I said, I messaged him on Saturday when I was having problems with the Visual Studio Azure account stuff. You're not too dumb. It's just... Sorry, I'm getting annoyed because I love Corrupted Hobo and he's putting himself down. But he's saying, yeah, I'm too dumb for all this stuff. No, you're not. It's just not your area of interest. You know far more about Minecraft. Jeez, the things you do on Minecraft. So, yeah. Like, and I've watched you. You just sit there and run around Minecraft like, yeah, I'm just putting this box here and then I'm going to cut through this and watch the water flow and like... So... Oh, God. You can probably help me with the scripting I need doing. All right, we'll talk about it tomorrow. I'm not going to promise anything, but we're having a sleepover tomorrow night, so I'll help you tomorrow. But yeah, so don't put yourself down. You don't know about this stuff, but you know far more about other stuff that I don't. Copperbeardy's saying IoT and Xamarin would be interesting. Yeah, agreed. I really need to get one of those MX chips, but I've not got around to it yet. I'll get to it at some point. But, yeah. Like, Brandon's great, so if you're wanting to watch that video and if you've got any questions, Silicon Orchid, just reach out to Brandon. You know, he's not one of these people who... I don't think he hides his DMs unless you follow each other. I don't know, but yeah, he's super lovely. You can at him, you can DM him, you know, you can email him, brandon@microsoft.com, because he's cool and got Brandon. Yeah, he's really super approachable, so just if you've got any questions after that, reach out to him. He is the man. So, I was going to show you MVVM, Copperbeardy, so let's do it. So, step 1 is the library I mentioned. So, we're going to do it solution-wide. So, manage new get packages. So, what we want is, if we search MVVM helpers, I don't think we can zoom in. No, we can't. So, I'm sorry, it's super small. We want this one here. That actually has the words written on it by Refracted, which is James's LLC, because in America it's safer to do business with an LLC than against your own name. I guess it's the same here, but it's just such an American thing, you know, in case you get sued. I can't imagine James would ever get sued, but yeah, basically Refracted is the LLC of James's. So that's anything that's Refracted is a library by him. There you go, author, James wants Magno. So we're going to add this package. We're going to add it to these ones. So what that does is takes away, as I said, the need for things like iNotify property changed. So I just add this library in. Copperbeardy's just said, every time I see Brandon Minnick name, I keep thinking of Kevin Mitnick. Who's Kevin Mitnick? If it's a movie reference, I will not know. I am useless. Corrupted Hobo can tell you half the time if someone talks to me about a film, I've not seen it. When it comes to films, I'm probably the family black sheep, but it's okay. I'm loved anyway, so it's fine. I just don't have the attention span to sit and watch a load of films. I think the last film I managed to watch, and I don't even think I watched it in one sitting, was Spider-Man Homecoming. Anyway, so I've added the packages. So what we can do now, let's just close these. So we're going to start doing some structure. So what I always do is add some folders. So we're going to want, it's MVVM, model view model. So we're going to want some views. We're going to want to move the main page into it so that we've got it nicely organized. Then we want another folder for, you can guess, view models, which we'll do some stuff within a minute. And then we will add models, but we don't have any yet because we don't even know what the app's going to do. As I said, open to suggestions. Cool. So we've got the views in here. And now we want to make a view model. So we're going to add a new file. We're going to call it. So we want a bit of naming conventions. Now I can do this. So funnily enough, well timed, I got interrupted because I got distracted by something Silicon Orchid said. He said, I find it interesting that you don't have attention span for movies, but can clearly stay focused on your coding. Yes. 1, I know what I'm doing. And 2, it's interactive. My problem with films is that you've got to sit there and pay attention. You're not doing anything with your hands. You're not keeping busy. You're just watching. And my mind wanders. Normally I'm okay in the cinema because it's the only thing I'm doing. You know, it's a black room with a giant screen in front of you. The only thing you've got to look at is the screen. But elsewhere, when you can look at your phone, you can check the internet, you can play on your laptop, rubbish. I always say to people, if you want me to pay attention to a film, let me do something while watching it. Play solitaire, browse the internet, whatever. As I mentioned earlier, one of my best friends who built my PC with me, whenever he wants me to watch a film, I just sit there and code at the same time, or I browse the internet. You know, I just have to do something. So with code, if I know what I'm doing, I can pay attention because I'm just, I'm just a monkey typing some stuff. But anyway, yeah, so we want an empty class. So mfractor can do auto-generating of view models for all your views for you, which is great. But, for those that don't have mfractor, and because I'm teaching Copperbeardy, I'm going to do it the manual way. So for MVVM, the convention is that for your page, you'll have like main page, and then the view model will be the page view model. So it'll be main page view model. Now, if you were doing this as a, doing this without a library, it would be like, I notify property changed, which you won't know what it is until you import the system. Oh, I don't know, but your system dot something anyway. But we don't need that thanks to MVVM helpers. So if we just do base view model, that's going to come in and be like, hey, what? Nope. I never know what, nope. What is the, shortcut for potential fixes? I never know. But anyway, yeah. So we're bringing MVVM helpers, and then we have base view model. So if we go into that a minute, thanks to decompilation, it should think about it and show us how it's done. But basically, what that does is that implements. I notify property changed, and then you just give it the name of the thing that's changing, which we'll see in a minute. So it just makes it easy for you anyway. Okay, I don't think it wants to do it, but okay, we've got base view model anyway. So yeah, I know it's control. Yeah, it's control period on or short full stop on Windows, but I never know what it is on a Mac because command dot doesn't work. Try shift. Nope, don't know. Who knows? I'll look it up at some point. But anyway, yeah, so sorry. I've got base view model, so now we can just go ahead and do some stuff. So it's we've got this base view model. Let's do something with it. So obviously the whole point and the power of MVVM is data binding. So you've got your views with your pages, you've got your models, which is the data. So for example, in that weather app that I was talking about earlier from .NET Conf, you might have weather as a model, and it might have the location and name of the location of the weather, the temperature, I don't know, maybe an attached image, so you can attach whether it's sunny or I don't know. But yeah, at the basics, you'd have a location and a temperature. That might be a model, or you might have a person model as another example. So each person, class person would be a name, might be first name, last name, age, location, whatever it is you want to include. But yeah, so that's where models go. So your models is your data, your views are your views, and then your view models act as a link between the two. So that's where bindings come in. That is how you link the properties together from your view to your view model so that they update. And that's where the inode for our property change comes in. That's what's doing the updating. But thanks to MVVM helpers, don't need to worry about it. So say we've got this. So I'll get rid of all this stuff for now. I'm going to comment this one out because it's a good sample for how to do the FontAwesome stuff, because I'm new to it. But if we just get rid of the rest of this stuff, label, oh no, we can just comment out the whole thing. So let's just uncomment that and then comment the whole thing. So we don't need the stack layout, basically what I'm getting at. So if we just comment that out for now, delete this one. That's one stack layout. There we go. So we're going to fix hot reload in a minute. It's just manage NuGet packages. So if you saw the error at the top, I want to use hot reload for this because we can, and it's awesome. So I am just going to update Xamarin.Forms because that's what it wanted me to do. Is that not the latest? So it's saying, what do you mean hot reload is disabled because it requires oh, is it Magic Gradient? That's okay. Yeah. Dependencies. So my thinking is, it's saying hot reload is disabled because it requires Xamarin.Forms 4.1 or newer. Well, I know that mine's on the newest because I just looked. So I'm guessing that it's this one. Yeah. Oh no. That's on 4.2, but that can be updated. So we're gonna update. See if that will let me with the internet while I'm streaming. There we go. No, we're just going to YOLO it and update them all. There can't be that many to update, right? But yeah, I just want hot reload to work so that we can see it in action. Anyway, while we wait for that, so we've got rid of it. So we want to add something that maybe does something. So we can I've got a grid. Is that not? Yeah. Oh, for goodness sake. Okay, it's not my day. Oh, it says here up to date. Okay. Don't know what's me to update. But anyway. I think I need to restart the studio. Never mind. This is about MVVM anyway. So, I don't know what, this is on GitHub. Let's just go with it. It's just neater then. It's easy to look at. So we still want that grid with a linear view, but we're just going to add a simple stack layout so that we can start playing with it. So let's just give it some padding of 5. It always looks better. So we've got a stack layout to add some stuff. So the easiest thing to add is a button. Vertical options is end and expand. So we just want it at the bottom. And then we want to just end the label so it stops moaning. Right, so we'll put a button in. At the moment, it just has vertical options. Then we want its text to be, I don't know. Actually, let's do click me. Let's just do a counter for it. So the first time we use data bindings is going to be in here. So when you do a data binding, you do curly braces, and then you see it knows what it's doing. So it changes color. So we're saying binding, and then you give it the name of the property that it's going to be bound to. In this case, it's just going to be account. It doesn't work. It doesn't exist yet, but that's okay. So we've got click me, and then actually let's just make this. Let's get rid of this. We're just going to make a counter. Let's do it properly here, right? So got a label. We want the font size. We're nice and big, so let's say 76. 72. Text color. Okay, we had a problem in Visual Studio for Windows today. I only discovered it when I was changing that color background, which was in in Visual Studio Stable 16.3.1 release. The hot reload extension was reporting an error and saying you need to restart Visual Studio every time. And so I saw Cliff, who's famous for his Handy app. He tweeted about it, and then I was like, oh yeah, I saw that. I just assumed it was the laptop I was on, not the Visual Studio or anything. But Maddie Leger and team actually found a workaround for that within a few hours, which was super impressive. So in honour of Maddie and the team's great work, we're going to make it purple. So it's going to be purple. It's going to be vertical option center, horizontal option center, so it's slap bang in the middle. And then we're just going to have the button underneath it. So the text is going to be click me, and then we're going to do a command. So when you're just doing like straightforward non-MVVM Xamarin.Forms, you often do clicked, but with data binding and MVVM, you want to use commands instead. So we're going to say count increment counter command. Oh no, we want to bind that. So yeah, it'll moan because it doesn't know what it is, but that's okay. Binding. There we go. So again, we've got two things it's going to look for. And it will know what to do because it's using binding, and it's two-way by default, so that's quite useful when you've got things like I don't know, an editor box. It might be that when you make changes, when the user makes changes, you want something else to update, but then also you want the the properties in the code itself to be able to update it as well. So that's what two-way is. So by default, it's two-way anyway. So we've got these things going on now. We've got data binding, but now we actually need them to sit on something. So let's just make this nice and big. I hate when it does this. There we go. So font size, we'll make it 42. 46. 42 is the answer to life, the universe, and everything, but 46. So we've got font size in there. Cool. Now we have a nice label. So we've got this data binding. So now we've got that. Silicon Orchid just said, I love how I get nonchalant text messages from Layla Codes It. I'm just having a drink with Richard Campbell. Yeah, I'm a .NET Rocks fan too, Silicon Orchid. Now, you want to be a little bit jealous. I was at NDC London in January, as you know, because Layla Codes It was also there, doing a smashing job on the Twilio booth and giving a talk, which was so popular it was standing room only. But while I was there, she was a mentor that I met through a women in tech network here in Manchester called Claire Sudbury, works for ThoughtWorks, lovely person. She was actually recorded an episode of .NET Rocks during NDC London about just being nicer to each other in the industry and some other stuff. It's a good episode. But when that was being filmed, I actually sat in the room during that. So I have sat in on a .NET Rocks recording. I do get a brief mention at the end, I think. I can't remember if it ended up in the episode or it was just on the audio. But yeah, I was there. I am also a .NET Rocks fan, and so that was pretty cool. So yeah, so that was a slight off topic. But anyway, so back to this. So we've got a label with a text, and now we want to do stuff. So first things first is we need to say to it where to look, because it knows that we've got data binding, but it doesn't know that it's going that the properties we're going to implement are in this view model. So the first thing we do, oh wow, Gareth Hubble is raiding with a party of 24. Woohoo! Yes, everybody, go on, Gareth Hubble. 24 people, that's amazing. I am great, Gareth. You have just dropped by with 24 people. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome. I'm great, Gareth. How are you? And so, yeah, it's Yappy Dog Raid. Woo! Can dogs be yappy? Because technically, I always joke that yappy dogs are rats, but I don't mean it. I love animals. But yeah, so just for those of you who are joining from Gareth's stream, we are doing Xamarin development. So Copperbeardy had a question about MVVM, which is model view view model, which is a very common architecture in mobile development. And so he was saying that he messes it up sometimes. So I'm just going through implementing very basic MVVM in an app, just using a counter example, just to explain how it's done. So we've imported a NuGet library from James Montemagno called MVVM helpers, which kind of takes away some of the base stuff that you have to do when you do data binding. It just makes it a lot easier for you. So we implemented that. Then all we've done in the main page is just add a couple of elements to make a basic counter. So we've got a label and a button. We've used binding for the properties, but at the moment the properties don't exist. So that's what we're doing. Gareth's just saying, here's me. She's called Lucy Fur and is a Chihuahua / Yorkie cross with a big heart and a little brain. Aww. Gareth's saying sorry to raid and run, but needs to get some food sorted out. Hey, I just appreciate the raid, Gareth. You enjoy your food. I appreciate, it's getting quite late. I've had a long day at work, so once I've taught Copperbeardy MVVM, I might take a break as well, since we've been going for quite a while. But anyway, we need to implement this first. We are not done. So we've got these properties, but we need to tell it how to do it. So we're going to go into the... Why is that broken? This isn't good. Hopefully it'll tell me in a minute. So yeah, so the first thing we need to do is to tell it what the binding context is. So we're going to do a new main page view model. So yeah, we're just newing up a version of our new model, view model, sorry. So now it will know where to go and look for it. Okay, so that's in scheduler. This is in scheduler. It's the matter. What's going on? Okay, well, we might just need a clean. So we've got the... Oh, it's okay. Silicon Orchis just saying, having been there streaming after a day of work, don't frazzle yourself out. It has to stay fun. I am having fun. As I said, I don't want to frazzle myself out, but I also really want to help Copperbeardy because 1, Copperbeardy's awesome. 2, you're all awesome. 3, knowledge sharing is fun. And if someone comes to me and says that they struggle with something and I might actually be able to help, I totally want to do it. But yeah, so we've got this binding. So now it knows about the view model. We can actually go in and implement some stuff. So we implemented 2 things. So first of all, we did this count. So let's put one in. So we'll do a private backing field because that's just what I like to do. We'll call it count. So it's the same name as the public version, and then we'll initialize that to 0. Then we will do a property. So I've just done prop and double tabbed. So it's going to be a string actually, because That might seem counterintuitive for a number, but if you think about it, these labels don't know what type of object you're putting in them, so you just have it wants a string for its text value. So it's going to be a string, and it's going to be called count. So we're not going to do it like that. We are going to do it the proper way, with the right indentation. So it's just moaning at the moment because it doesn't do anything. So I'm going to do get. So when we get the count, we're saying like return count. So if you've not seen this kind of syntax before, this will, yeah, it's just saying when we do a get, all we're doing is just grabbing that. So I did toString, obviously. Now, if you're doing this properly, you'd make sure that the number is something you can deal with. But since I've set up the count, I know that it's never going to, I can make sure it's always an int. And then for set, this is the snazzy bit where we start to use MVVM helpers. So if we just do set property, like this. So it wants a reference backing store. So that is actually that count. And it wants a value. Guess what we put? Value. And just like that, we have data binding. What's the matter with it? Yeah. Oh, it's going to be messy, isn't it? This might not work so well. Pause. Value. Will that fix it? Nope. What is it? Suggestions. What am I doing? I'm sure it's set property. Type T. What am I doing wrong? So the reason I chose a counter, by the way, is because when I do my intro to Xamarin talk, I do a counter app. So it's just something that I'm used to doing. That'll do. Oh, apparently not. Just up to my GitHub and let's just grab one. It's me as a Simpson. There you go. That'll do. So I'm just going in here to see how I do it. Oh, this might be a poor example. No, it's not. Oh, I'm an idiot. I forgot the word ref. So it should be ref count value. I still think we need to do it like this. The reason I say that is because there we go. So obviously this is poor form and you could probably do it better, but because the backing field is an int and the property is a string, we have to say, like, when you set the property, then you're referencing that count, but we do need to convert it to an int when we set it. In theory, it will get set. Anyway, so that just takes care of the swapping between string and int. If anyone's got any like red flags waving or suggestions how to do that better, let me know. But that was all I could think of. So we've got this count now. So when we run the app, it will go, hey, it's bound to the property count. I can find count, get me the value of count. So it will go to the get, and then it will return that as 0. So it will start at 0. Woohoo! So if we run that now, what will happen? We will try and see. It might throw an error, because I might close Visual Studio and reopen it, but we'll see. Yeah, 2 errors. Oh. This is not going well. Let me just close and reopen Visual Studio. It's having a bad day at the office. Have you got any questions, by the way, Copperbeardy? Like, obviously, anyone can ask questions. I don't just mean only Copperbeardy can ask questions, but since you were getting confused by it, Like, is there anything I can do to help? See what it's going to do. It's restoring packages. Should you not try parse int value before trying to assign it to? Probably. Actually, no, we don't need to. And the reason we don't need to is because when we... Well, I might be proved wrong, but I think the reason that we don't need to is because we know that it's a string, and that's the property we're going to be interacting with. So when we implement that command later on, however long it takes, to update the count, we know to... Oh, no, you might be right, actually. Oh, no, but we don't need to. That's what we're doing. So the set, just following what you meant now, angry little hamster. So the set property is telling it what value is going to get updated, but this is actually the value itself. So this will do the conversion and then assign it to that. So it should work. But you might be right that there's probably better coding practices for how to do this. Try. It's fine. We'll just do. Yeah, that's fine. We'll just leave it as it was. Yeah, it's just a it's just a demo, angry little hamster. So it's going to be pretty poor form. It's just to show Copperbeardy how to do it. Yeah, you're right. It should throw a it would throw an error if it fails, but as I said, this is just a quick demo, and I know that it's an int, and it's only going to be this that's going to be updating it, so we should be able to... Oh god, no, this isn't going to work, is it? It's a really bad example. I should have picked a better one, because the problem we've got is that we want to say, like... I know what we're going to do. We're going to create an extra... We're going to change this to be count label. We're going to count label. We're going to update the main page. And the reason for this is because I don't want to get confused between the count label and a count property. So we basically want to this might be unnecessary. Anyway, we'll find out in a minute. I think I'll only work this out by doing it. As I said, this demo have poor practices all over the place. It's just a demo so that Copperbeardy can understand MVVM better. But we've got this count label, so now we should be able to run this. Ooh, Zaraz is now following. Yay, thank you! Woohoo! I'm at 50 followers! Does this mean that I might be an affiliate after this? That'd be exciting. I've already got an idea for what I want the logo to look like for the emoji. This is exciting. Yay! I have 50 followers! What is going on? $50 is the threshold. Well, so it's not just 50, it's 50 followers, stream for 7 out of 30 days, stream for 8 hours, and have a certain number of people interacting in your chat, I think. Hey, Fuel Snable, if I'm saying that wrong, I'm really sorry. Why is this so broken? So we've got main page. What's going on? Hype, yes. This is very exciting. I never thought I'd have 50 followers, so thank you to each and every one of you that's followed, because I started out the stream literally just as a fun exercise for me, because I wanted to, I just wanted to feel more confident as a developer, do a stream that goes at a really slow pace. I mean, I've probably spent more time explaining things than writing code today, and that's what I want, because I watch so many other streamers who are amazing, and I do learn loads of little tips and tricks and different things from them, But rather than going like through it really slowly, it's just like, oh yeah, you know, we're gonna implement this, and now we've got that. We want it to call this, I don't know, .async, whatever, and it's like, yeah, it's great and it's amazing to watch them do it so easily. But I don't, so we're just going to do things slowly with lots of explanations. So if you like lots of explanations, welcome to the Coding with Luce family. Thanks, Angel Hamster. Yeah, I really love code streams. As I mentioned earlier, I think before you joined, I do have another Twitch with far fewer followers where once in a blue moon I might stream video games. But, you know, Xamarin is my passion, and I have interest in other codey things. So, like a few streams ago, I spent a few weeks, when I first started the stream actually, doing Twilio Quest, which is a really awesome 16-bit standalone dev adventure game where you can learn Twilio stuff. But it's just, what's going on? Why is it unhappy? So it's in a content page. It's in a stack layout with a label. Let's just take the funky out for a minute. Oh, of course. I'm just trying to work out what's going on. I might delete this page and start again. So let's just delete. Bye. Now, Copper Beardy said he's pretty much 80% talking, 20% coding. Welcome to my life. So we're going to add a new main page. Oh, that's why there was two of them, I think. Yeah, there we go. Problem solved. Somehow ended up with two of them. It must have copied it rather than moving it. Okay, so we wanted to get rid of these grids. Bye grids. Goodbye to the grids. Bye grids. Just get rid of them. Oh man. So Fuel Snable has just said at least it's not 80% cloud formation and 20% talking. Oh man, the PTSD. So I currently work at a company called dunnhumby, which is a data science company here in Manchester who are owned by the Tesco's group, because dunnhumby was founded by the people that founded Tesco's Club, what's now known as Tesco's Club Card. But before that, I spent a year working at the BBC. And yeah, the amount of cloud formation I wrote. Oh, no. I mean, infrastructure as code does have a place. Like, it's nice, but just, oh, you spend more time trying to understand what's going on. So, in here, okay, so now it should work. So let's try it again. Now I fixed that. Well, this is a good start. It's built. Let's wait for it to load the old app. Oh, doesn't sound very good. Oh yeah, it is building. It's just slow. So yeah, I don't know if I've made affiliate yet. I'll have to wait for the email. But if I've made affiliate, then I'll have to go on something like Fiverr and get an icon made. But I have an idea. So I'm thinking a sword at 45 degrees. Possibly, I think it will be hilt and grip, bottom left up to top right, but then have like C, W on the blade, and then L down the other way. So it's like Coding with Luce. And the reason I want to do that is because a few reasons. One, I just like swords. I don't own any, but like I like medieval and stuff. And like on video games, if I pick a character, I'm normally a fighter with an, badass blade. So I like swords anyway, but also because, this stream's about battling lots of things. It's about battling imposter syndrome. It's about battling gaps in knowledge. It's about battling, confidence issues. We fight together. So I thought I'm hoping to get something with a sword involved. So Angry Little Hamster's just done exclamation mark shed. I have no exclamation mark thing set up, but my stream is every Monday evening at 7 p.m. British summertime, or when the clocks go back, 7 p.m. UTC/GMT. So it's, yeah. So Fuel's neighbour has just said CloudFormation solves the problem, but he's not afraid to say he's not enjoying it. Yeah, I get it. Infrastructure as code has a place because it's easier to see what's going on, and you can easily copy common things between like microservices. If you're spinning up another piece of infrastructure, you might want to share a lot of things. So at the BBC, for example, we had, you know, a team specific set of like, you know, traffic bits and security and whatnot. They were common between every microservice. So we'd use CloudFormation to share the bits. But yeah, I get it. But I just remember someone who actually knew what YAML was and understood it at the time, which I didn't, always said he wished it was in YAML. And I get now why Azure infrastructure as code is in YAML, because it's nicer. But yeah, oh, it's slowly starting. Getting there, I think. What's it doing? Nothing, apparently. Let's try again. Oh, we've got an error. What do you mean styles not CSS is found there? Oh, we need to do... Oh, cool. Apparently you can do CloudFormation YAML these days. That's good to know. Yeah, this was like March 2017 to May 2018, so a lot can change. Let's try that. So it was just moaning because it couldn't find the style because I moved the page, the styles is in a different place. So let's just try it. See? Is it going to work this time? Oh, there we go, come on. Thanks a lot, Angular Hamster. Have a great evening, day. I don't know what time zone you're in, so yeah, happy, good morning, good afternoon, good day, good evening, good night. Yeah, bye. Thanks for joining. So, it should slowly start the app in a minute. I don't know why it's taken so long. It's not normally this slow. But wait for it to load. But then we should see our counter. I'm not sure what purple text on a gold background will look like, so it might look horrific. But we should see a 0 appear. Ah, supper time. Okay, enjoy. Hey, TBD Gamer. So we're just waiting for this to load, and hopefully we should see something. Why is it taking so long? Deploying to device. What's the matter? It's getting there, I think. I know, that's the one with a notch, isn't it? What is it doing? Right, we'll do it on iOS 11 because that's actually running. Maybe that'll be a bit quicker. Yeah, emulators are great. The annoying thing is that the iOS one is always super speedy. I don't know why it's being speedy. There we go, see? iOS 11. iOS 11. iPhone 11 even. Okay, so we've suffered from the notch because I haven't done the set area truth bit and I can't remember it off by heart, but we can just solve that by moving it down. So if we put the stack layout, vertical options is center. Hey! Okay, even though it's lying to me saying hot reload is disabled, it so isn't, because you just witnessed it. Whoa! Boom. There we go. So, it had the 0, so it's got that value in. Now, at the moment, the button doesn't do anything because it doesn't know where to go. Let's fix that. And let's see if hot reload can support it too. So, I didn't need to do top padding copperbeardy. I just shoved this whole stack layout in the middle. Silicon Orchid saying, is the emulator fighting with OBS for resources? Not seen the stream status, I'm thinking not. I don't know. But thankfully, for some reason, it didn't want to start the iOS 8, I keep doing this, iPhone 8 simulator, but at least 11 was running, so that's cool. So now we want to go ahead and do this command. Now, commands are slightly more complicated, but not by much. So if we go back into our view model, first of all, we want a command. So we'll say, actually no, yeah, let's do the command first. So public, do it after the constructor actually. No, we'll do it up here as a global. Public command, and it won't know what command is because command is in, I know it's I command from, so we do it as an interface first from system IO, is it? Yeah, system Windows input. So we're saying I command, we're going to call it, what do we call it? Increment counter command, okay? Oh, so if we want the names to match, it won't find it. And then we're going to say that so a common practice when you're doing commands in Xamarin.Forms is that you tend to have a public property like that at the top with no getters. It's not a property, is it? It's a variable because it doesn't have get and setters. Yeah, you just have a property at the top. So we're going to say increment is a new command, which is from Xamarin.Forms. So if you looked under the hood, you'd see that command from Xamarin.Forms implements iCommand. So that's why we declare it generic, and and then with the implementation is specific. So new command. Now this is where it gets funky. So it wants an action. So we're not passing anything in. So we're just going to do arrows. So what you could do here, rather than doing anything inside the curly brackets, is just give it a method to call. So that, if your method's doing more than just adding a number up, it will do it in the method. But we're only doing a simple one. So in here we're saying, oh no, wait, we don't want to do that. Yeah, ignore me, I'm wrong. Again, unsurprising. So we are saying that you want it to do, I don't know, we'll do a increment count. Oop. Can't remember if I'm doing this right. This is what happens when you live code on the screen. So it won't know what this is, but that's okay. All we're going to do is implement that method down here. So public void, because we're not returning anything, increment count. We're going to say oh, we don't need that. Hang on. Let's just refactor this a bit. So, because we're not doing it quite the same like that anymore, we want to have a private string count label equal, and then we don't need to do toString on that. We can get rid of the function, so we can do the label. So we can do away with the funky conversions here and just have a straightforward value. So the reason I'm doing this is because what the property that the label uses is not going to be the same as the count. So we're just saying, like, have a private string for that, but then we're also going to have a public int count. Get will return count. So count will return count. Set will we're doing this right. I feel like I'm making this more complicated than I needed to, but I just couldn't think of another example to do. So we've got the count, and we want to say, like, We don't need that bit. We just get is going to be count dot string. And then we don't need a set. No, we do. I'm making this harder than it needs to be. I'm sorry, Copperbeard. I was only trying to show you MVVM. So we've got, I'm no idea why I'm screwing this up. I guess it's a long day at work. So we've got account, and we've got the label. You're going to change the label? Well, yeah, we can just do that. We're never going to set the label in this, so much as we're binding to it, so it should, with two-way binding, it should update. So I think we can do it like that. This is probably really badly written, but no, so TBD Gamer, I'm using a library called MVVM Helpers from James Montemagno. So that does all, under the hood, that does all the iNotify property changed, but it just makes it easier for us. We don't need to do it, it will do it, but we don't need two-way binding anyway, because we're never going to have the UI update. We'll work it out in a minute. I said I was only trying to show Copperbeard the MVVM rather than actually write a well-written counter app. I'm just making a hash of it. So all we're saying is that when you increment the count, stick the count up by 1. And I think this should just, I think even with the get, it should do two-way, it should do update bindings. So we'll find out, won't we? Okay, so we might need to restart this. That's okay. See what's going on. Is this helping at all, Copperbeardy? Like, I know you didn't mention what part of MVVM it is that confuses you, but I'm hoping to help. Okay, that didn't work. Right. In true Blue Peter style. There we go. Just do that. And then update the names. Because the hard part of this is not supposed to be writing the count. It was only supposed to be explaining MVVM to Copperbeardy. But anyway. So we've got increase count command. So that's, we can change the label in a minute. So it's count. So if we go into the main page, change this to be, ooh, what did I call it? Count. So it's back to just count. Okay, and then it's, what do we call it? Increase count command. There we go. Let's see if this works. Yeah, okay, so there's while I wait for that to run, actually, I'll go and grab docs.com. There should be a good diagram in here. Hey! Boom! Got the sword. Whoop, whoop. I mean, I cheated by grabbing code, but it was code I've written. So there we go. We have a count using MVVM. So we go to Xamarin. Don't know what I'll be under. Data binding. There we go. I just wanted a useful diagram. Do you not have a useful diagram? Really? Boo. Okay, let me get a whiteboard. Whoop. Herein lies your teaching. Let me rub that stuff out. Will it come off? Nope. It's been on there too long. I'll just draw it. Draw it! What can we draw in? Draw dryer. Right, so you've got your view, right, with your bits and bobs on, so you might have like, you know, yeah, right. Okay, this is proving harder than I thought. I just want to draw. Data binding diagram. Anything useful? There we go. Oh my god, just... Yeah, so you've got your view, and your view has your bits and bobs. So like in our case, obviously it was a label and whatever. And then you have the view model, and on the view model you just have the properties that you want to do the connections to. You just have to make sure the names match. If you ever get stuck again, just reach out to me. I don't have to be on screen to help you. But yeah, so we spent most of tonight talking, but we have implemented a counter. Woo, in MVVM. Anyone got any questions? I am going to draw the stream to a close in a minute because I have amazingly been going for 2 hours, and although I feel alright, like I'm getting slight backache because I've not been eating back, and also, yeah, I'm just going to burn out if I stream too long. But I'm very excited that you're all here. Should we see if I've got my email about being affiliate? Because look, 50 followers. Let's have a look. I'm just seeing if I'm affiliate. I don't know yet. Twitch. It might not hit yet because I've not ended the stream, so I've not logged enough hours. Let's see. Still don't know. Okay, it might be that I have to end the stream so that I get... Yes, you're right, TBD Gamer. Affiliate is an exciting milestone, and I am not going to lie, I never thought I'd make it. Because that wasn't the goal, you know, like, it... Yeah, you're right, TBD Gamer, I think, and Copperbeardy. I think I was short about an hour and a half of stream time, so I think it'll only hit when I end the stream. But yeah, like genuinely, I never thought I'd get to affiliate. Like, this is nuts. Like, you know, it's amazing, and I'm so lucky that there's people like Copperbeardy and Silicon Orchid and other people that turn up every week, and you know, now I've got more people joining, and hopefully you'll turn up every week or most weeks, you know, because it sounds so cheesy, doesn't it, when it's like all these people saying, like, you know, the best part of streaming is the community, but actually it is, because like if there's no one in the chat, I might as well not be streaming, in the sense that if I'm just writing some code, I don't need to be streaming it and slowing down my internet just to write some code. So it really is like a group effort, and yeah, I'm super excited. And even more exciting than being affiliate is that if I'm an affiliate, I can apply to be in the live coders team that Jeff Fritz started, which Jeff Fritz, C# Fritz, is just his Twitch handle. Yeah, like it's super exciting, like to be on that team, because whew, there are some amazing people in there. You know, Noah, Cat, Clancy, James, David Ortonell, Gerald. There's loads of people. Like, yeah. And obviously C# Fritz himself. So I can't say sharp. I say it funny. C# Fritz. Anyway, yes. Yeah, I agree, Copperbeardy. It takes a streamer and viewers. Like, you wouldn't be here if I didn't make content. So it's nice to know that my content makes you want to come back. But oh, Dak Labs is now following. Woohoo! Thank you very much, Dak Labs. But yeah, I will hang around in the chat for a few minutes afterwards in case anyone's got any questions. But with the celebration of hopefully hitting affiliate once I end the stream, and having taught Copperbeardy MVVM, talked you through pretty gradient backgrounds, and the stuff I achieved at the weekend, I call this a raging success. Battle on against your problems and demons, people. We will smash imposter syndrome. See you next week. Ooh, if it doesn't lock me out my computer before I can stop the stream. Try again. Bye! Come on. There we go.